Okay, I'm going to try a little bit of a stress test on our relationship, and also a kind of a test on how I'm doing in my own shift from a dominance mindset and an unbalanced um, kind of tendency to tip into anger when somebody that I'm partnering with doesn't do what I want. Um, and this round pen has just been such a laboratory and such a school for me in that very difficult upheaval and overturn of my previous patterns. And it's not anything but messy, let me tell you. And I just really am trying to show you this in the process because I feel like that would be more encouraging to some of you who are contemplating major potential major attempts to do better or do different, because it's one thing to know better and it's a whole other thing to do better. And so the thing that I am wanting to do with you guys is show how Tundra and I are doing with bridling. And I decided with Tundra that I would try to work towards an immediate, not an immediate, but a consensual bridling experience right from the beginning. And all my horses have eventually moved there. They've tipped their head and opened their mouth and been very uh, accepting of the bit and bridle. But it took a long time of me just sort of doing it and doing it quickly for them to figure out, oh, I could help. Like I'm not actually in the way. And it took me a long time to even believe that they wanted to help. I was so assuming their uncooperation that it took me a while to actually notice how much they were trying to cooperate. And so, I live and learn very slowly. And so with Tundra, I have deliberately left the bridling to now. I mean, I've been offering it to her and experimenting, and sometimes I've been putting it on because it has been easy to do. And then there have been some memorable times where I've tried to stay with her as she backed away, because I didn't want to take it off when she was in the midst of backing away, because that's bad horsemanship, as I know it. And that always sets us back because I'm giving mixed messages. I'm saying, let's do this with your consent and your comprehension and at your pace. And then I'm saying, nope, it's at my pace. We are going to finish the task. This is my agenda or no agenda. And I flip flop, right? And so yeah, it's humbling. And so I want to show you where we're at and how my system, my nervous system, is struggling for presence and awareness and being in this present moment, as my EFW instructors emphasize, present moment awareness, right here, right now, and tracking Tundra as well as myself. And the task is there in front of us, and I'm trying to reduce the stakes. I'm trying to lower the stakes and create a situation where she tells me how fast she can learn, and where I presume willingness, I presume good intent, I presume her goodwill and collaborative effort, but I don't push past her ability to try. So that's where I'm at right now, and I am going to kind of get her groomed and tacked up and skip to the part where this is interesting for you. Are together. Thank you. Thank you. That's a girl. That's a girl. There we go. And that's the problem, right? It's so awkward to put on a bridle. I gotta change hands. I got one time I got it in her lip. I'm trying to figure out how much to try and how much to fight and how much to just because once it's in. Okay, I'm gonna back you up. Back. That was not helpful. Not helpful. Okay, so I'm trying. I've got her saddled and brushed, and I can do a couple of things right now. I've paired applesauce with the with the bridle, and I've done this because applesauce is her favorite thing. And if you were following me last year, it took me a whole summer just to get her on board with applesauce being a good thing. And so she now is, and that's why I know this process is optimistic. It took a long time for her to figure out that this was a reward, not a terrible idea. And now that we're there, I can actually use it as a reward. And so I've done a couple of lessons just trying to give her the reward for small tries. And and she's walking out of the frame now. And so what I want to do is not force compliance at all. I want to say this lesson is crafted a little bit by both of us. So if you're telling me that you would rather move than be bridled, this is what we can do. We're going to stay in connection and we're going to stay doing things together. But what we do and how fast we do it is kind of an us thing. So I'm going to put the bridle back. I'm going to put the applesauce in a ready position. And we're going to do a little bit of moving, which, by the way, she's getting really good at because of how I'm mixing up these lessons. And so I'll keep the meter running here and let you see where we're at. So it's all the same topic. It's all about trying to create a language learning environment, request and conversational sort of pace, and respecting the willingness of both parties to do the things. And so I'm not wanting to think of her as my primarily tool mount extension of my ego, right? Although I dip into that very quickly. I want to think of her as Tundra, who is here in the round pen with me, and we are relating, and this task that we're doing is the thing we're doing. But it can either strengthen our connection or it can make it more tense and anxiety producing. And I don't want it to do that for either of us, because I reflect, I mirror, I feel a little bit what she's feeling. And I've always felt that, you know, when I have to be very strict or dominant with horses, it carves something out of me that I wish it wouldn't. And so the idea of not having to do that is very attractive for very many reasons. And the presumption that without a firm leadership stance, nothing will happen, is what I'm trying to challenge here. And so my experience to date with Tundra is if we go slow, and if I ask, and if I show, and if I come with, and if I allow frequent shifts in my energetic direction, she is kind of all in. Like, she is a doer of a horse too. She's not my adversary. She's not my reluctant, immature, kind of dysregulated subject. She's just an equine partner, and so I want to work with her in that capacity and respect everything I can about her ability to make choices and to communicate her needs to me. So right now, because I'm very not present with her, she's eating grass, and that is just fine, because what else would she do while she waits for me to join up with her? And that's a nice reversal, right? So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to try and keep talking as I go. All right, Tundra, are you ready? And I'm going to invite you in with some draw and let you know that I'm ready. Finally. And she's looking, the ears are there, she's moving towards me, she's still eating. There's a considering, reflective quality to this kind of attitude, but very towards, hey? And so again, this is a pacing thing. I'm going to be patient and see when she decides to acknowledge my existence. And I'm going to try moving. Oh, hello. Hello. Okay, so I'm going to up my energy a little bit, and right away, walk on. She's a little bit more alert. Good girl. And so this is a highly practiced activity we're doing together, which is I'm trying to soak with her at a walk. So she is with me. Yes. And she's at the perimeter, which is her lane. And she's at a walk, which is the speed that we're comfortable with right now. And she and I are in connection, and I am attempting to manage my own energy flow so that I'm not driving, that we're actually able to just soak together as if we're just two beings in partnership. I could just as easily be walking alongside her, and I want that to be the flavor of this. And I'm just pulsing the drive to ask her to keep moving. And so what I'm seeing here is a relaxed animal who is actually regulating through the walk, and that's what I want. She was regulating through eating, but now I'd like to regulate by movement and get that nice flowy sense of rhythm, of breathing, of calm, of togetherness. And we've really worked at this distance between us because she really kind of responds to draw, and she comes really in, and and I have to push back, but I don't want to push so as to drive her away. I want to push so as to create a mutually acceptable distance between us as we are together. Walk on. And so I'm going to just show you some cues that we've figured out, and it really is for me about shifting my energetic core. So I'm really thinking about my core. I'm really grounded on the earth. I'm really trying to stay very embodied. I'm a mind. I'm also a body. And my heart is the one that connects with her heart. That's the part of me that enjoys this relationship, and I want my heart to be forward so that if things break down in the plan, I can maintain um, that strong bond between us and not scare her by a disapproval of a mistake. Good girl. And so she's very sensitive to those shifts in polarity. I just shifted to a draw. See, she's drawing. Oh, and now we're just going to soak. And the soaking is something that, most naturally happens at a whoa, but it can also happen, I think, in all the gates. I think we can create a situation where there's such an equilibrium and such a shared understanding and such a relaxation that the bond between us is what's still, even though the energy we're using may be at a very fast pace. That's what I'm hoping for. So this was not hard, right? Like, this was very lovely, easy, consensual, calm, connected, and that's kind of how I want to suggest that this whole thing could be. This whole thing could be like that. Bridling does not have to be any more stressful than that. So here she is giving me her nose exactly like I want, and that is a big win. And this is where it gets tricky because of all the hands. So let's see if I can do, there we go. I want to get her to put her head in to the bridle, and that's a choice on her part, right? So no, that's not an option. Over here, I'm going to ask for this. Ask for this again. And if you give me your head, and again, I want comprehension. There we go. You got a bit. And this, there. That's what I want over here. Whoops. You get a bunch. And I'm going to walk away. I'm not sure if you saw that, but it was really starting to put together. And it's messy, right? I've got applesauce and I've got a bit, and it's a two-handed procedure. And I have to stick my thumb in her mouth, and it's like a whole bunch. Anyway, okay. So now I'm going to invite her to choose to do that lesson again, or we can do some more moving. What would you like to do, my girl? Let's get you in the frame. So over, yes. Let's put this on. So I'm just going to do things as messily as I can. I'm going to show you the bridle. And you see her go still, right? This is her kind of default where she's like, I remember it being a bit of a rodeo. I don't want that. And so I'm going to just go away in my head for a little bit and hope that you go away too. And it doesn't matter that the applesauce is here. She is kind of weighing her options. And that's my fault. That's my fault for rushing it a little bit. So I'm just going to give her some time and see. Now she's tipped her head towards me a little bit, which is a good sign. Yeah, there it is. You can smell it. But she's also very much aware of the conditions to the applesauce. So I want your head in the bridle. That's it, which is not that hard. And so this pacing thing is a big, big shift for me. But I think it's really important to let her come back to a thinking state. She's a little bit out of a thinking state right now. She's a little bit separated from me. And I want to just let her come down, let her bring herself back. You see the slow blinking. It's a sign of actually, I think, stress. This is a little bit of stress. And so I don't want to escalate the stress. I want to, oh, good girl. Yeah, you get something for that. She came back to me, and she came back to me knowing what it entailed. And so I'm going to walk away. That was a big deal. Give her a break. Give her a break, because I really feel like celebrating that choice to come back on her own and engage with a little bit of a scary thing, and trust me, was such a big deal. It's very slight. I want to use the movement and pressure as a rhythm where the bridle is part of the, good girl, part of the calm part of the rhythm. And so creating this rhythm of high and low challenge, or more pressure and less pressure, more drive and more soaking, even though it's very slight, puts me in a position of like pairing this as a reward. And it's a reward just because it's part of the rest, the rest period. Not that the movement is a punishment, though. The movement is just, harder. Okay, and so I just did a little bit of cantering and both directions, and that's also getting a lot more relaxed and comfortable. And so this is the last one I'll do today, and then I'm just going to get on her. Okay, my girl. And she's not even breathing hard, so I'm going to ask, what do you think? And there's a little brace. So yes, no, maybe so. There's a tractor in her field of view working away, and she's thinking about that. So we'll see. Okay. This is what I wanted, and I'm going to leave it there. That was really, really nice. And I think you could see how she paced that lesson entirely. And we alternated with things that she's already quite good at, but which are organizing for her brain as well. Namely, horses really do love to move. So that is my lesson for today, and I feel good about it. I think I stayed within my own value system and was able to, with your help, because it's helped for me to talk about it, was able to resist becoming agenda focused rather than tundra focused. Yeah, that's tough. All right, my girl, I'll do the next thing with her now, and I'll see you guys later.